Hi guys, so today's notes are for 4.3 and it is over negative exponents. We're going to start just by going over some exponents to learn the negative exponent rule. So we have 3 to the third, which is 27 because that's 3 times 3 times 3. 3 squared, which is 9. 3 to the first, which is 3. 3 to the 0 is 1 because anything to the 0 power is 1, always. 3 to the negative 1. So this is where we're getting into negative exponents. 3 to the negative 1 would be 1/3. But how do we get that? We get that with our rule over here. When you have x to a negative exponent, you basically put this in the bottom of a fraction. So we got this by doing 1/3 to the first, because we just put this in the bottom. So if we had 3 to the negative 2, that would be 1/3 squared, which is 1/9. 3 to the negative third would be 1/3 to the third, which is 1/27. And that's our negative exponent rule. So we get into an example down here. We have x to the negative fifth. So we just take 1/x to the fifth. We just put that in the bottom, and that gets rid of the negative exponent. And the reason we do this is because if we had a number for x, like let's say 2, solving this is a lot easier than this, right? Just doing 1 over a number, then you just get a fraction as your answer. So let's go on to the next problem. 3 times m to the negative 2. When you have a whole number in the front, that stays in the top of the fraction. So 3/m squared would be our answer for this one. This part goes in the bottom, and your whole number stays on the top. Okay, let's go to our next one. We have 6 times x to the 8th times negative 3x to the negative 7th. So here we're going to be combining our other rules as well, along with our negative exponent rule, right? So first we have to do, what we always do is just multiply the regular numbers. That's the coefficients or the numbers in front. So 6 times negative 3. And then we have x to the 8th plus negative 7. Remember, when you multiply, you're going to add the exponents. That's the product rule. So you would have negative 18x to the first. And that's our answer. Our one over here is the power rule. So we have 3x cubed to the negative 2. This is the power rule, remember. So we're going to have 3 to the negative 2, and then x to the third times negative 2. Now we're going to have to use our negative exponent rule to solve these. So 3 to the negative 2. We did solve this one up here, if you remember, and it is 1/9. And we would have x to the negative 6. But we don't want negatives in our answer. It should contain positive exponents only. So we're going to put that in the bottom of our fraction there. So that would come out to be 1/9 times x to the positive 6. And that's our answer. All right, let's keep going. Again, we have the power rule. So I'm going to take each of these. You can think of them each as like a separate thing. So we're going to have negative 8, right? And we're going to take that to the negative 2. Then we have x to the 5th. X to the 5th times negative 2. And this one, remember, has an invisible one, so I just didn't write that. Then we have y to the negative 4 times negative 2. And then we just simplify this down. So this would become 1/8 squared times x to the negative 10 times y to the positive 8. And the reason we got rid of this negative here in the front is because when you take a number squared, it's always going to be positive. Negative 2 squared is positive 4, and 2 squared is also positive 4. All right, so we don't want any negative exponents. So which one of these are we going to put in the bottom? This one. So that means that our final answer will be 1 over 8 squared, which is 64. And then that x to the 10th needs to go in the bottom, but the y to the 8th stays in the top because it's already positive. And this is our final answer. All right, the next one. All right, this is going to be our product rule. So we're going to be adding the exponents. So let's look at the a's first. So we have a to the negative 5 plus 7. And let's go to the b's. B to the 8 plus negative 3. Finally, we have c. C to the negative 12 plus 7. And if we simplify those all down, we get a squared times b to the 5th times c to the negative 5. We don't want negative exponents, so we have to put the negative one underneath. Just like that. That's our answer for that one. All right, here we have h to the 4th over h to the 6th. So there are no negative exponents here, but we want to simplify this down so that we only have one h. We don't want two h's. We don't want one on the top and on the bottom. So if we do this, we're going to do h to the 4 minus 6, which gives us h to the negative 2. And h to the negative 2 can't have negatives, so we're going to have to put it in the bottom, 1 over h squared. And that just makes it easier to solve for us. If we were to be given a number for h, like let's say 5, solving the simplified version is a lot easier than the unsimplified version. So when you have a variable in the top and the bottom, you're going to subtract them. So you're going to take, for example, 4 minus negative 2 for this one. So our first step, of course, is to deal with the regular numbers. So 14 divided by 7 is 2. And then we have w 4 minus negative 2. Remember, when you have a minus and negative, it's really like a plus. So this would be 2w to the 4 plus 2, which means our final answer is 2w to the 6th. All right, let's get into some longer problems where we again have variables in the top and the bottom. So let's just look at the x's for now. So we're going to have x to the 4th minus 2. And then let's look at our y's. Y to the negative 3 minus 2, which gives us x squared, y to the negative 5. Can't have negatives, so we put it in the bottom. All right, our next one, we have regular numbers or coefficients in the front, so we have to divide those first. Negative 24 divided by 2 is negative 12. And then we have our x's. X to the 5th minus negative 2. Again, remember, the minus negative is kind of like a plus, so we'd have negative 12 to the 5th plus 2. So 5 plus 2 is 7. So x to the 7th. All right, this one is going to combine multiple rules. So we are dividing, but we also have to use the product rule in the top. So let's just do that first. Just look at the top, and we're going to do the product rule. So multiply the regular numbers. 6 times 5, 30. And remember, with the product rule, you want to add exponents. So a to the 3 plus 9. And I'm just going to rewrite the bottom. And I'm going to simplify this to be 30a to the 12th all over negative 12a to the 14th. Now we want to divide our normal numbers. So 30 divided by negative 12. This is going to stay as a fraction. I'm just going to divide the top and the bottom by 6 and get negative 5 over 2. And then we have our a. We have a to the 12th and a to the 14th. So we're going to have a to the 12th minus 14, which gives us negative 5 over 2 times a to the negative 2. Again, we can't have that negative, so let's put it in the bottom. So negative 5 all over a squared. Sorry, 2a squared. Forgot the 2 there. It's negative 5 over 2. All right, we just got a couple more. So this one is going to incorporate both the power and the product rule. So let's look at this part right here first. So we're going to have 3 squared, x squared, and y squared. All of that times. I'm just going to rewrite the rest of the problem. Now let's simplify this down. So let's look at our regular numbers first. Our regular numbers are 3 squared and 2. 3 squared is 9. And what's 9 times 2? 18. So we have 18. And then let's look just at the top for now. And let's combine our x's. So we have x squared and x to the 4th. So you add those and we get x to the 6th. And then we have y's, y to the 2nd and y to the 3rd, y to the 5th, all over 6x to the 8th times y. All right, now we're going to divide our normal numbers here, 18 divided by 6, which is 3. And then let's look at our x's. X to the 6 minus 8. What's 6 minus 8? Negative 2. And then y's. 5, remember there's an invisible 1 there, so 5 minus 1, which is 4. And since we can't have negative numbers, we're just going to move that x squared to the bottom. And that's our final answer. Okay, we have one more. It's kind of a long one. So let's take it step by step. Let's first just look at this first part here. So we're going to have 2 to the negative 2. X to the 4 times negative 2. So x to the negative 8th. Y to the negative 3 times negative 2. So y to the 6th times, now let's just look at this part. 2 to the 4th times x to the negative 4 times y to the negative 2 times 4, which is negative 8, all over. I'm just going to rewrite the bottom, put this all in parentheses because that is all to the 3rd power. Okay, so let's simplify this down. 2 to the negative 2 is the same thing as 1 over 2 squared, so it's 1/4. Times, where's our other regular number? Right here, 2 to the 4th, which is 16. Now let's look at our x's. We have x to the negative 8 and x to the negative 4. X to the negative 8 plus negative 4. Let's look at our y's. Y to the 6 plus negative 8. I'm going to continue this up here. So now we will have 1/4 times 16, which is 4. 4x to the negative 8 plus negative 4 to the negative 12, and y to the negative 2. All over the same thing. Okay, our next step is to simplify using the rule that we just learned, right? So let's divide. 4 divided by 2, which is just 2. 2x, remember we have to subtract them, to the negative 12th minus negative 7. And let's do our y's. Y to the negative 2 minus, oh, forgot a little minus sign there. Here we go, minus negative 3. All of this cubed. Now let's just simplify our numbers down there and our exponents. So 2 to the x, 2 times x to the negative 5 times y to the first, all to the third power. Now we have to use this exponent here, right, with our power rule. So you'll have 2 to the third times x to the negative 5 times 3 times y to the 1 times 3. Whoa. Which will give us 8 times x to the negative 15 times y to the third. And since we can't have negative exponents, we move the negative 1 to the bottom, and that's our final answer. Okay, try these 3 all on your own. Rewatch whatever you need to.